owned by you. Sorry. The truck is for Canada, which is owned by you, which is separate from Rebel News, which is also owned by you.
You're crazy. You got to control your emotions. Control your emotions.
So, I'm not just enunciating.
You're out of control.
Speaking quietly doesn't make your things any less
You're
bullshit.
completely out of control emotionally. And your facts are completely wrong.
All right,
you're an embarrassment. What's your name? What's your name? You're suddenly shy.
No, I'm Googling.
You're Googling your name? Why don't you tell us who you are, tough guy?
Stuart Benson, Hill Times.
Student Benson Hill. Well, you're a disgrace to the Hill Times. And your facts are wrong.
Well, actually, here's the thing. I can do the job.
Welcome to Occam's Razor. We're going to go fast and loose and get to the truth. Mainstream media is having a meltdown. And this is the fellow that you saw at the beginning of this video having his little tantrum in the room. It's absurd what's happening. I think here Sheila says it best.
I've never seen such a bunch of unhinged buffoonery in my entire life as I've just seen unfold in this place. I don't know if you guys saw the footage of that unhinged Hill Times reporter in his Hillary Clinton pantsuit yelling at Ezra Levant, completely unprovoked. Ezra was telling him, stay calm down. And, you know, CBC complaining that we asked questions. And so then they were reporting that we had our accreditation revoked. We didn't, you know who didn't have his accreditation revoked? The Hill Times weirdo over there. It's so tense in here that I'm frankly worried about my safety. And I'll tell you why. Because Alexa, this place, by the way, exploded. I'll get to what happened outside in a second. This place exploded when it was announced that the scrums would be canceled. And everybody, unhinged, blamed us, even though we've been the victims of their unhinged behavior this whole time. We've conducted ourselves with nothing but professionalism, and the comportment of the individuals here has been less than desirable, I would say. And I knew, because we sort of had confirmation from the inside before. We knew, and I sent a message to everybody saying, be ready with your cameras. This place is going to pop off and they are going to blame us. And that's instantly what happened. Some left-wing journalists, subsidized journalists from Ricochet start screaming at Ezra. People shoving Lincoln, like shoving him, like shush. It wasn't like a bump, like physically smacking into him. Justin, like absolute mayhem. The police should have intervened. I don't know why they didn't. I got fed up. I might have raised my voice a little bit. I wasn't yelling, but I said, you know, we have been heckled, berated, derided, subject to abuse. We had paper thrown at us the entire time that we've been here. They're running nonstop stories on us, treating us like pariahs, and they're acting like the victims in here. It is the most astounding, bizarre thing. What happened to Ezra earlier? It's 4 minutes of video that happened on camera. So you could see the behavior of the other journalists, and they're still blaming him for the scrum being canceled. The scrum was canceled because we asked questions these people don't have the bravery to ask. That's what happened.
Exactly. Yes, they're cowards.
They're treating us like absolute pariahs. Now, Guillaume's behind the camera. Alexa Lincoln and David, they went outside. And Lincoln calls me and tells me that he's been assaulted. The team has been assaulted out there. Again, this place is wriggling with the journalists. No one will have footage, I'm sure. There's cops everywhere. Why are my guys getting manhandled out there? They're not allowed back in. All their stuff is in here. We're separated from each other. It's absolute chaos. And the journalists in here are the true victims.
Oh, yes, they are.
We've been subject to their bad behavior the whole time, and they're blaming us because the Debates Commission doesn't have the bravery to uphold journalistic freedom when differing opinions are in the room.
Exactly.
Well, and that's what I think it all boils down
Exactly.
to, is that we had a team there prepared, ready, acting
Yes.
professional, looking
Yeah.
professional, when some of the counterparts were looking, like street people adjacent. And
Yeah.
then the entire legacy media and laptop class had a complete meltdown over
Indeed. They absolutely did. Absolutely. Now let's go see what the mainstream media is saying on their news pieces regarding this. Right? Let's see what their take on that is. Let's see what they got here. Post leaders debate scrums canceled due to security concerns. Oh, what security concerns would that be? What do we got going on here? Criticisms, interview. We lost to Rebel News twice in court, Cormier told Capellos. Oh, we lost. See, they were fighting them. This entire system is rigged against independent media. The whole mainstream media cabal had a complete meltdown that Rebel planned ahead. I mean, they've been around for 10 years and they have not been allowed to participate as media with the rest of them. They've been kept out of parliament because they're far right. They've kept them out of all the debates, finally until this one they get in. And then when they do get in, these man babies have a complete meltdown. So there we go, of course. There's a take on CTV, security concerns. What's the National Post saying? Party leaders didn't take questions. Here's why. Probably a better take on what they said. And probably I think there's value in having an independent body that sets rules for debates, prosecutes them. I think some of the decisions, I'm sure, will be called into questions, but I don't think it's for the political leaders to make those determinations. Determinations of what? Of how debates are held or what questions are asked. I think these debate commissions run by liberals are far from being something that's really good for Canada. What's the Globe and Mail saying? Post-debate press scrum scrapped last minute over lack of proper environment. Oh, yes, of course. As you can see, they're going to blame Rebel News, but all the video here is showing that properly, but the far left media is not, because they've been acting like this their entire time. And most Canadians don't see it because they only get a nice finished package. They only get a nice finished package to show them exactly what they want you to see. And what does Yahoo News say? They say debates chief canceled post-debate Q&A after Rebel News clashes with reporters. Well, no, they didn't clash. If you stick to the end of the video, I'm going to put in the 4 minutes that shows Ezra's interaction with that Hill Times doofus, and you will see that they're just sitting back and watching this guy act like a I know can't even say it on Twitter. They'll get the video banned. And what are they saying on CBC? Post-debate news conference canceled over safety concerns. So the only safety apparently is that anyone on the left side of politics is going to get violent at any minute when they lose their minds and start hitting people, because that's what usually happens. It's never the far right causing issues. It's always the people on the left. This is a perfect time to go through corrections and clarifications by CBC News. That's right. The mainstream media that we are paying for over $1 billion a year can't even get their news right. And when they do make corrections, they don't really make corrections. Because once the news is out there, once you said something wrong, you're never going to get it back. Even if you make a correction. Over 90% of the people who saw that incorrect story are never going to hear the correction. That is why the CBC is one of the biggest purveyors of misinformation. And for us, they've actually tracked their own misinformation that they've given us to the public and how poorly they have done these corrections. Let's go through these. And these are the most recent ones. These are actually on their website. April 17th, yesterday. Oh, well, from the day before, April 16th, during a live broadcast following the French language federal election leaders debate on CBC News Network, chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton said, yes, there have been remains of Indigenous children found in various places across the country. Oh, Then CBC says, CBC News has reported on multiple occasions that several Indigenous communities across Canada have discovered on the sites of some former residential schools are potential burial sites. Unmarked graves. Potential. That's right. No habeas corpus. They have not been proven. Right there, you've just stated that Rosemary Barton lied. Lied to Canada on national television. But you didn't say she lied. You just said that we've been reporting that there is a potential. And then you state exactly what Rosemary said without pointing out the fact that she lied. March 18th, 2025. News reported that Prime Minister Mark Carney signed an order in council to end the consumer fuel charge or carbon tax effective April 1st. He actually signed a prime ministerial directive. Orders in council would be issued later. A correction note was added to the digital story. Corrections were broadcast on air. Right. Most people don't care. Most people don't care. Right. You got it wrong because you can't report the facts right because you are a media manipulator to state a specific message and brainwash people's minds to help your liberal masters who give you money. That's who you are, the CBC. March 1st, 2025, a graphic appeared briefly on screen on the national referring to the impending release of 600 hostages from Israel. There we go. The anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic bent of CBC is always there and constant. Here you have some actual people that were put into jail in Israel for committing crimes. They weren't hostages. They were criminals. They were prisoners. They were being exchanged with Hamas, a terrorist organization, so they could try to get some of their hostages back. Some, and they still have some of the hostages and or their bodies. We don't know, right? Act of terrorism. But you guys love to support Hamas at CBC, don't you? February 25th. CBC News reported on some platforms that none of its 2025 to 2026 budget projected $2.2 billion in total spending. The budget projects about $3.1 billion. Corrections were broadcast. Again, misleading information. You can't even get your math right. What is wrong with you people? February 18, 2025, CBC News reported that Alberta produced 37,000 pounds of honey. Actually, it was 37 million pounds. Just a couple of zeros missing. You can't. Over $1 billion. Seriously? Like, where are your checks and balances? Where's all this money going, CBC? Is it because you show up in a story with 6 people and other reporters can just do the story with 1 or 2? Is that where all the money's going? And you still can't do this, right? February 14th, 2025, CBC News reported about safe supply that included London Drugs. London Drugs wasn't involved. It wasn't even the right outlet. February 10th, 2025, CBC News reported the federal government had invested $60 million to support recovery efforts in Jasper. In fact, the amount was $160 million. Math is hard, I know. January 31st, 2025, CBC News Network. A guest used the word genocide to describe the actions of Israel in Gaza. As part of her response, our host stated, "We cannot use that word to describe what is happening." In fact, CBC News does not prohibit specific words in reporting, but instead requires precise attribution and reporting on the debates that shape public policy, including debates about language. This was not made clear in this instance, and the host comment left an inaccurate representation of CBC standards. Well, I'm amazed CBC has any standards at all. January 17th, 2025. The sentencing of a man who lives in Dawson City, Yukon, who sexually assaulted his former intimate partner. This news was reported. The article originally stated the man, Leslie Ian Weatherston, was the former deputy chief of Dawson City Fire Department. The article has been updated with a correction to clarify that he's in fact the former deputy chief of Klondike Valley Fire Department. So all those people in Dawson who might have heard this story and never knew of the correction are just going to walk around assuming their deputy chief has been sentenced for assaulting their intimate partner. Very nice, CBC. Very nice. 1.4 billion for these kind of errors. That's pretty cool. That's not cool at all, actually. What do we got? December 31st. So we're just going into last year. We'll stop it after this one. News reported on the concerns of residents in the British Columbia Fraser Valley about illegal dumping on farmland. The original version of the story contained an image of a company vehicle and a construction site that were not associated with the illegal dumping alleged in the story. So now the people saw that vehicle will associate that company with this illegal dumping, right? And all the people associate that never saw this thing, this correction, and why is that? Because every time CBC makes an error, they should be forced to broadcast their correction for 3 days nonstop so that everybody who heard the wrong story will have a chance of actually getting the correction. And then maybe after that, CBC will start paying more attention to the news that they actually do and stop acting like a far left multimedia, mainstream media outlet that just wants to push the liberal narrative nonstop while going after any opposing views and displaying their media bias in all their stories and their headlines. Good for you, CBC. No BCF today. Let's finish with Ezra's video with viewing the self-entitled narcissistic half-wittery on full display that Sheila Gunn Reid was talking about. You'll see Stuart Benson ramble like the crazy, ill-informed, brainwashed far-left morons you interact with online who act like children, call you names, accuse you of something unfactual, and then hide in their cognitive dissonance lest it pierce their far-left illusion of cultural superiority. Enjoy this far-left neo-fascist in all his glory until he gets a talking to by staff to calm the foxtrot down. Stuart Benson is a prime example of the entitlement class. Like, share, subscribe. We'll talk to you later.
Your little chattering class, you third-party advertisers that you work for. Rebel News? Rebel News, owned by Ezra Levant, is a different company.
Is he learning that Canvaxi is not a rebel news?
Well, I want to make sure the guys filming it over there get a good audio. So, do you hear me okay?
I have a lavalier
Am I
mic.
enunciating properly?
Do you want to put a lavalier mic on and then I can hear you?
You have one set up? You got the levels ready for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're clearly not doing any actual journalism.
Really?
Well, when you guys started gaming the rules and threatening to sue because you didn't get your way, I assumed the rules were out the window.
No, it's right here in front. Like, you follow the rules.
Oh, was that like when it was in black and white saying you should only have one reporter credited so that everyone might have a chance to ask a question? But instead, you wanted to take, what was it, 2-minute long questions so that Polyev only got asked 3 questions. He usually allows 4 because things move a little bit quicker at his press conference. You guys are so verbose, I'll say. Most of us didn't get a question. And what I really don't enjoy is that everyone else here was being respectful, following the rules, just being considerate to everyone else. And what you guys decided to do was to take advantage, threaten to sue, so that you could try to get more than everyone else. And now, nobody likes you.
The CBC and Radio Canada had 4 questions, and we had 4 questions. Why are you lying? We had the same number as the
You guys
CBC.
threatened to sue, so that you could, that's why they got the 4 questions, because the commission...
You're making that up. You're lying again.
When did the CBC get 4 questions?
Yesterday.
Yes, after they had already...
And they had the same in 2021,
because
same in
you threatened
2019.
to sue.
You're lying again.
I'm not.
It's in the correspondence that
Don't you have a third-party advertising truck to go take care of?
you're lying
How
again.
much have you spent on third-party advertising this election? Between Rebel News and For Canada, companies you own both of, how much money have you spent to influence this election? I'm assuming in favor of the Conservatives. How much have you spent? You're a journalist,
Rebel
you must
News
be
has
honest.
spent 0.
So, Rebel News Limited, you set up...
You're a liar. This is you haven't done your homework. You're making things up.
You can go to Elections Canada right now. Every third party is registered. Search Rebel News For Canada, and you will see clear as day Ezra Levant as the owner of both of those companies. He has third-party advertising trucks driving around this
You're
venue
lying
right
again.
now.
That's not a Rebel News ad on there. You're lying.
It's
Why are you
owned by
lying?
Rebel. It's owned by you. Sorry. The truck is For Canada, which is owned by
you're
you,
lying again.
which is
Jesus
separate
Christ.
from
You're
Rebel
crazy.
News,
You're
which
a
is also
crazy
owned
guy.
by you.
You're crazy. You gotta control your emotions.
One by one.
Control your emotions.
So, I'm not just enunciating.
You're out of contrul. You're out of
Speaking
control.
quietly doesn't make your things any less
You're
bullshit.
completely out of control emotionally. And your facts are completely wrong.
All
And
right,
you're an
let's go.
embarrassment. What's your name? What's your name? You're suddenly shy.
No, I'm Googling.
You're Googling your name? Why don't you tell us who you are, tough guy?
Stuart Benson, Hill Times.
Student Benson, well, you're a disgrace to the Hill Times. And your facts are wrong.
Well, actually, here's the thing. I can do the job of one of me can do the same job you clearly need 5 reporters to do. So, am I the disgrace, or is it all of the people you needed to do the job I do by myself?
You just got to control your emotions. You're just out of control.
Rebel News Network Limited, March 27th, registered with Elections Canada, name of applicant, Ezra Levant, mailing address, Edmonton, Alberta, T5J OK4. I wonder where that would have been. T5J OK4. I wonder what that postal code.
Well, you certainly got a tiger by the tail.
And let's go check out For Canada. I wonder who they are. Am I talking too loud now, or should?
No, you just, you don't understand, you don't even understand what you're looking at.
What work are you doing? With nothing in front of you. Oh! Oh! Yes, the really exceptional work you're doing.
Is she telling you you're out of control emotionally? Tantrum boy. I'll call you tantrum boy.